I'm Michael Fox, and this is the Prospector Podcast. And we are live on location in London, England at the Resourcing Tomorrow conference. And like we did last year, we got a couple of BC boys gotten all the way over the pond because we can't seem to, sit down together in Vancouver. I'm sitting with the president of the Association of Mineral Exploration of British Columbia, Keerit Jutla. Welcome, Keerit.
It is wonderful to be back. And yeah, I'm excited for our yearly coffee chat in London. Yeah, we got to connect more in Vancouver or back home, eh?
Yeah, no, definitely. And last year you were brand new to the job, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. You seem to be still bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. They haven't beaten that out of you yet.
Yeah, it's been an amazing year, and learned a lot, connected with the breadth of our membership, others in natural resources, and it's been amazing. Looking forward to the next one as well. But yeah, it's good. Got a year in my belt that feels like 5 or 10 years, but it's good. It's all good stuff.
Before we get into the meat and potatoes of what's happened this year, let's tell everybody what the Association of Mineral Exploration of BC, or AME BC, is all about.
Sure. AME, we are the Association for Mineral Exploration. We represent over 5,000 members who either operate in BC, who are based in BC. But what we've also seen in the last year, Michael, is a strong surgence and an uptake in our membership, individual memberships, corporate memberships, all across mining and mineral exploration in Canada, the value chain in Canada, and from other natural resource proponents, right? So I think we're really proud of the work we're doing to champion our natural resource economy and to ensure that we have a strong one going forward. So it's been an amazing year, Michael.
Yeah, I like the way you folks have transitioned and gone back old school to what the mandate of AME BC used to be, which was to be advocates for the mining industry towards the public and the government. And everything that I see coming from you folks over the course of the year has been fresh, and you've got messages year round now, where they used to be just around your convention in January. So these are all good things, but you immediately, you were fresh on the job and you got stuck in a hornet's nest. When we last talked, it kind of was in full bore challenge mode. The BC government tried to unilaterally change the staking process in British Columbia. And you, on behalf of your membership, stood up and said, hey, wait a minute, nobody talked to us about that. So how did that all actually end up playing out, and has it resolved itself now?
Yeah. No, it was, second week on the job, case came down and the work started, right? There's some really big files that we saw this past year. One was, the consultation staking regime that we have to build pursuant to the court decision. And the other one was the Land Act amendments that were, kind of like sprung on British Columbians. So in the past year, yeah, we, read these things, engaged with government and said, hold on a second, have we done all of our homework here? And what was evident in the Land Act amendments, the answer was no, and they pulled those back. And they have now promised that they're not going to be bringing that back again. The other key item was, how we build a staking regime. So as you know, court decision came down last year. Judge said, build a staking regime that is a consultation standard. The judge said there's a very low impact, if any impact, on mineral exploration and staking. So that, make sure you build something that's pursuant to that. So look, I think what we've seen in the past 8 months is we were ready to go to work and build something, but government had a different approach to it. So I'm really glad where we're at now. We have advocated for the members. This past summer, I went all around the province to meet with the breadth of our membership. We did a What We Heard report that very clearly said, hey, this is the importance of mineral exploration. This is the importance of prospecting. And so where we're at now is we're working with government to just get back to what the homework was, not building anything else different, as consultation staking regime. And yeah, we're looking forward to hopefully something coming out within the next few months.
Wonderful. It's good every once in a while when the industry gets a win over government, because the last thing we need is more regulations in a lot of the cases. Now, speaking of governments, your area of is British Columbia. There's been a government change. Well, kind of, sort of. It's not as a heavy NDP government as it once was. They are still kind of, sort of the majority government by a seat or by a hair. What are you looking at when you're looking at a new NDP government in British Columbia? Are they a little bit cowed and a little bit more interested in getting feedback from people in BC, or is there going to be business as usual?
Look, I think the last election was a really big wake-up call for the BC NDP in the sense of the economy is extremely important. The ability for people to make a living and buy a home is extremely important. And the backbone of BC's economy is natural resources. The biggest export is metallurgical coal, ore, natural gas, oil, and forestry. Those are the main exports. And BC's got to start being proud of that. So I think what we've seen now is that this government really understood, like, yeah, we need to get projects going. And what I'm really excited to see is that there's now a established mines ministry with Minister Jagrup Brar. There's another great guy over in forestry, Ravi Parmar. So look, I think that government recognizes that, like some governments previously in BC, that you need those dirt ministries to be strong. They need those dirt ministries and the natural resources spaces to be doing a good job, right? So I'm excited about that. I have a good relationship with Minister Brar, and AME is excited to contribute to building good policies and good regulations that gets mines going in BC.
Perfect. What's the background of Minister Brar? Does he come from a mining background, or is he mining adjacent?
I think he's mining adjacent. So before that, he was Minister of State and of Trade. So has really good relationships with folks all over, the country and the world. And then in his background, has been with the government for a while. So, I think he's a great guy to be there, and who truly does care about the breadth of the people in the industry. And, one of the things he said to me first off was, look, let's get going and, let's work together closely and let's start, building the right things here. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, as someone who's, spent a lot of time in British Columbia and been in the mining industry, I always, when I'm at conferences away from BC and in places like here, one of the questions I often hear about is BC still a good place for a mining operation to work? Is it a good place to invest my money and things of that? We've gone through 4 years. There was a couple of hiccups that we've already addressed, and now we're moving forward with the new government. Let me pose the question that's asked of me: is BC still a good place for mining investment?
Michael, absolutely yes. BC is the place to invest. We have incredible regulations. We have incredible people. And now we have our own established mines ministry and mines minister. So there is a key focus on ensuring that things get done, right? So BC is a great place to invest. And, when you invest, you should also get an AME membership, and we'll ensure that, you're able to move through the process in the right way.
One of the bizarre things that I often wondered about is, how did BC get to the point where, given the history of mining in the province, that there was no mining ministry?
Michael, I think there's been a really big disconnect between the people and the companies doing that natural resources work, and I think the policymakers, right? Like, you don't know what you don't know. And if you're not talking to the people who are doing the work, the prospectors, the juniors, the people who are at different mills, then you don't have the information to be able to build sound policy. You don't know that, yeah, we probably should have our own mines ministry, right? So this past year, I think that's what has really been, been shown, that we have to talk to everyone to build things that work for everyone. And that's where I'm excited to see where we go. And, Michael, one of the things I think, and I heard someone say this, is we have to just stop getting in our own way in terms of getting projects going, right? Like, BC has and has been pioneering those policies for quite some time. So let's be proud of what we have here, right? And let's really focus on now getting things built and getting things going.
Absolutely. Now, British Columbia has been a signatory to the UN DRIP, or Development Indigenous Resources of Indigenous People. What kind of outreach does AME BC do on behalf of its membership to the First Nations communities of British Columbia, a lot of which are actually very pro-mining in a lot of cases, and others a little hesitant, but they're not no's?
Yeah. Look, BC enacted the DRIPA legislation in 2019, which is to use the UNDRIP principles to advance, policy. AME has a strong connection with many Indigenous groups in British Columbia who are either interested in or who are already involved in mineral exploration and mining. And there's a lot. There's absolutely a lot. And I think what we've heard from a lot of different nations is they're not being engaged, by government on some of the policies, right? Like, you don't hear about the incredible number of nations that are actively leading mining mineral exploration, right? So that's some of the work that we're doing there. The other thing, Michael, is we're building direct bilateral relationships with nations all across BC. So if you're an AME member, what we're going to be able to do is say, look, there's a lot of different changing and onerous regulations or expectations from government or anyone else. When you're an AME member, we are going to build those direct relationships with nations so that you have that certainty. You have a relationship pathway that says, all right, I want to talk directly to a nation, and I want to talk about how I can get mining and mineral exploration going, to do that in a bilateral way. So we're putting in the work, and we're building the relationships for our members to be able to get things going.
Perfect. Now, coming up, we got a big event in January. Third week, I believe, the 20th to 23rd, if I remember correctly.
That is correct.
I've got a pretty good memory considering how jet lagged I am, but that's pretty good. Let's talk about Roundup, and if people wanted to participate in Roundup, what can they expect from the event?
Roundup is the premier mining conference in Canada. It's where the incredible, it's by miners, for miners, by geologists, for geologists. So not only are you going to be able to come and see that technical expertise, but the conference and the participation is so wide now that we have incredible people there to talk about policy, Indigenous leaders in the space as well. We've seen a huge increase in ticket purchases and membership. So I think this is going to be one of the biggest roundups yet. So if you want to know, how do you do business in BC, or how do you do business in Canada as it relates to mining, mineral exploration, AME Roundup is that place to come. So if you want to get involved, go online, go ameroundup.ca or Google AME Roundup, buy your tickets. There, and we can help you get settled in Vancouver for the conference. But I'm super excited for it, and I think this is going to be one that you can't miss.
Perfect. I'm excited about it as well. The Prospector News is a sponsor of the event, and we've been proud to do that for, I lost track of the number of years. It's probably close to 40 years that the Prospector News has been around. What I love about the event is exactly that, is I get to meet the back office people as opposed to the investor relations people that I normally deal with. So I get the insights from the geologists. I get to talk to government officials, First Nations folk about mining and the impacts that it's having on their communities. And people don't realize that it can be game-changing and life-changing in some of these remote communities.
Yeah.
I've spoken with First Nations families that lament how their children have to leave the community to get a good job and get ahead of life. And then all of a sudden, a mine comes to the community. Now they have opportunity within their own community. They don't have to leave. And it's exciting work that gets done, and you get to meet all those stakeholders at Roundup. So I highly recommend to people, if you have the opportunity to attend Roundup, even if it's just for one day, please do.
Yeah.
Keerit, pleasure seeing you in person.
You as well.
Considering, we generally in the same city at the same time, but hey, what's an ocean, right?
Totally. And just for one more thing, AME Roundup Discovery Days on the 19th as well. It's free, so bring your family as well. And Michael, I just want to say to you and the Prospector News a huge thank you. Thank you for your support during the year, and that support to remind everyone that you don't get mines without mineral exploration, juniors and prospectors. 9 out of the 10 major mines were discovered by prospectors.
A prospector, absolutely.
So, we can never forget the importance of everyone involved in this industry and ensure that we have a great path moving forward for everyone. And I commend you for continuing to show the importance of that. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you for joining me, and look forward to seeing you in January.
Sounds good. Thanks so much.
The Prospector News podcast is for educational purposes only. The opinions expressed are those of the participants and are not to be taken as investment advice. Listeners need to do their own due diligence and seek advice of a licensed investment advisor.